Hey guys, it's early Monday morning. Let's get you started with your week with a few things that I think you should know. Big headlines from around the country today, and we're going to start off in Atlanta, Georgia. The name you should know as you head into this week is Rayshard Brooks. Here is the incident that happened on Friday night that led to a series of events over the weekend, and I'm just going to give you a quick few highlights of what transpired according to reports. Police were called to respond to a vehicle blocking traffic at a Wendy's drive-thru. When they arrive, they find Rayshard Brooks in his vehicle. After a sobriety test, police decide to arrest Brooks and an altercation happens. During this altercation, Brooks grabs a taser from one of the police, takes off running. The police follow, and you can see on the video that Brooks points the taser at police. Police end up shooting Brooks, who dies at the scene. Now, again, just the highlights. And we have to remember the video footage that we're seeing is often from different angles and in slow motion. The events transpired very quickly during the arrest. What you should know is that the police chief in Atlanta after this incident resigned. The police officer who shot Brooks was fired. The other police man was put on basically administrative duty, and the medical examiner has ruled the death of Brooks a homicide. This does not assign blame, but essentially allows an investigation to move forward. This is important because it has led to a series of protests over the weekend and events, as I have mentioned. And let's be clear, it's important because it's another loss of life. The police officers were white, Brooks was black, and it is another incident where there's a police killing and allegations of excessive force. Now, one of the things that we have looked at Smarter News is statistics on excessive force. How big is this problem in America? And just to let you know what's going on behind the scenes, we have done a ton of research on this, trying to gather the data that would provide the context that we need. And the data is just not complete. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to actually show you that this week. Cities and states do not have to report to the federal government. They're not obligated to. They don't have to do it in the same time or the same manner. And because of that, the data is questionable at best. This weekend, we learned from Senator Tim Scott, he's the lone black Republican in the Senate, that he believes the data going to the FBI is about 40% of the available data that's out there. And so that's one of the things he tucked into legislation that he's trying to push through that would obligate city forces like Atlanta to report crimes and use of excessive force, or allegations even of use of excessive force, back to the federal government, so we have a database on that. That's actually an area where there's a lot of bipartisan support. So in a time when there's a lot of division, you should know that Democrats and Republicans are both working on legislation that would include that, to get a more complete picture, at least when it comes to data, of what's happening in America regarding police and allegations of excessive force. So we'll watch that story as it continues this week. We expect to hear more about that. In the meantime, the other big headline that you might see this weekend is spiking cases of the coronavirus. One thing you should know is that this story has been framed in many ways that the spiking cases are in states that opened early, or mainly the southern states, and that's just not the facts. You should know that we're seeing spikes in coronavirus cases in a lot of different areas in America, including Washington State, which had one of the strictest lockdowns of the nation. That's where the first case of the new coronavirus emerged. So it's not just a southern story. It's not just a story about reopening the economy. In fact, some doctors are saying they're not exactly sure why this is happening. Interesting little nugget on this is that the governor of Washington says he really wants people to wear masks. We have another study that came out this weekend that said if 100% of the people wear masks, there's really a belief by researchers that we're going to dramatically impact the virus in a way that staying home doesn't just do alone. Something to know. Another doctor said that in order for us to really slow the spread of the new coronavirus, at least 70% of America needs to have been exposed or have an infection. We're closer to about 5%. right now. So it just shows that we have a ways to go when it comes to COVID-19. So that's something important to know. You might see headlines from Dr. Anthony Fauci, a key member of the White House task force. He gave an interview over the weekend, and he was being asked about travel bans and a return to normalcy, and he said we're at least a year away. So that's the timeline that he's providing. Kind of an interesting twist on this story. Apparently, America has seen a spike in bicycle sales that we haven't seen in decades, not since the oil crisis in the 1970s, because families are trying to figure out something to do, friends are trying to figure out something to do, and another way of public transportation. Because of that, there's a shortage in bicycles. I mean, who knew? Guess where about 90% of the bicycles in America come from? China. So like an ironic kind of twist on COVID-19. What questions do you have about some of the news stories over the last couple days? Let me know. We'll catch you up. You can go to Smarter News, where we're linking to the video of Rayshard Brooks that's available regarding the incident in Atlanta. And we also have some great links to some of the stories that he just covered here on Coffee Talk. By the way, I just got my COVID-19 test results. So it took Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it took 5 days. I did test negative, as expected. I have to say, there's part of me that sort of wanted to test positive, because then at least I could check that box, and kind of show, okay, listen, it wasn't great, but here I am. Unfortunately, I can't do that. That said, the doctor did write me this morning and said, listen, 1 out of 4 tests, we're getting a false negative, so you have to stay home. So I'm still on a little bit of a ginger ale toast diet right now, and on lockdown for another few days, which means a lot of extra content for Smarter News. So we'll take the positives where we come from. Guys, direct message me on social media. Our whole team likes to see what you have to say and how we can explore different stories for you, or email us hello@smarternews.com. Have a great week, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.